Hello, and welcome to this special episode. Today I'm talking with Joseph's older brother, Louis. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello, glad to be here.
Tell me a little about yourself.
I'm 24 years old. I'm currently attending a university and I'm majoring in creative writing. I enjoy walking, playing Pokemon video games, and creating.
You have 4 younger siblings. What do you like about being the oldest?
I think the nostalgic aspect is kind of cool, and maybe the opportunity to set a good example. That's about it.
You and Joseph are almost 18 months apart. Do you remember life before he was born?
I don't believe so.
What are some memories you have of growing up with Joseph?
I remember hanging out with him as a child. We used to play Pokemon video games a lot.
What do you like about Joseph?
I like that he's really cool, and he's really passionate about a lot of things.
How would you describe him if you were telling somebody about him that didn't know him?
I would honestly say that he's a little bit of a troublemaker.
Okay. What is your relationship currently like with Joseph?
I don't really have much of a close relationship with Joseph now than I used to whenever we were younger. He feels more like extended family at this point, someone we would really just see every so often, maybe on special holidays and events.
Mm-hmm. How has your relationship with him changed over the years?
I definitely feel like it decreased. Whenever we were really young, we were really close, hung out with each other a lot, whereas over time, we gradually grew apart. There was one period of time in which we grew closer again, but then that was very short-lived. Now we're apart again.
What kind of relationship do you think brothers should have?
I think brothers should have a really close relationship, a relationship that is really supportive and still really fun and exciting.
What is your earliest memory of Joseph's involvement in drugs?
I think the earliest memory I have with him doing drugs, he was going through a drive-through with some of his friends, and I think they ended up doing some drugs on that ride.
How old was he, or how old were you?
I think I would have been around 15 or 16 at the time, so he would have been like maybe 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm. Was he with friends that were driving?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. How has having a sibling with a drug addiction impacted your life?
I feel like it has impacted my life in a negative way, because prior to all the drug happenings occurring, we had a pretty solid family of 7, whereas after that started happening, he really grew apart from all of us, went through a life that we were not entirely aware of. It was pretty disappointing.
Who do you think has been hurt the most by his addiction?
I honestly feel like my parents were hurt a lot from it, having to send him away, having to pay all of his expenses, and also him himself went through a lot of really scary and just bad experiences because of it.
Why do you think Joseph became a drug addict and none of his siblings did?
I don't really know why any of his siblings didn't, but I definitely feel like Joseph A has something not right with his brain, but it was also because he wanted to appear cool to people. Because whenever he was a freshman in high school, he saw himself as a geek. He really wanted to step it up his sophomore year, and he thought a good outlet would be by doing drugs.
Did he tell you that?
I don't know if he told me that directly, but he definitely said that at some point.
Okay. What is something about Joseph you wish you could erase from your memory?
I kind of wish that I could just erase all the violence that he showed me whenever he still lived here. Really just focus on the positives whenever we were kids.
When you say violence, what do you mean? Can you be more specific?
Kind of like sibling roughhousing.
But you weren't wanting to do that and he kept continuing on?
Yeah.
Do you believe Joseph can overcome his addiction and live a healthy, successful life?
I definitely do think that he'll be able to do it, but it'll definitely take some time, and he'll need to find something else to get passionate in that does not involve drugs. Something that can give him the same high without hurting him.
What would you say his strengths are?
He's really tech savvy, And whenever he has a passion, he does anything it takes to pursue it.
What kinds of jobs or careers do you think he would be really good at?
I think he would be good at anything that would involve computers.
What is something that makes you proud of him?
I think that something that really makes me proud of him is even though he ended up in this situation due to bad choices, he really showed that he's able to support himself even when he's off on his own.
What do you think is his biggest obstacle to staying away from drugs?
I think his biggest obstacle to staying away from drugs is really the people he's around, and even just feeling a sense of tranquility and boredom.
How have you felt watching your brother struggle with drug addiction?
I have felt both really disappointed and sometimes even kind of afraid.
Do you think that his addiction has impacted your mental health?
I don't really think it affected my mental health that much, but sometimes it did make me feel a little uneasy around him.
Have there been times when you felt less important because Joseph was getting the most attention?
I don't think so.
Do you feel like Joseph got more attention from his parents than the other siblings?
I definitely feel like there were some instances, but I can't really recall any. I mean, I remember one time you were picking me up from Mercy after dealing with Joseph, and you were in a really bad mood because you had just dealt with all of his stuff. But I don't really know if that would count as him getting more attention than me.
But do you think that it made your parents less able to be there for you or your siblings because they were focused on Joseph and his problems?
Yeah, I definitely feel like there were some instances like that.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt hesitant to share your problems with your family?
Yeah, especially whenever you and Dad were pretty mad about dealing with Joseph and all of his issues.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt ashamed or embarrassed by him?
I don't really think I felt shame or embarrassment, more like disappointment and fear.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to lie or cover up for him? Has he ever asked you to do that?
I don't think so. And I feel like even if he did, I would have taken it sarcastically and I would have just told the truth anyway.
Do you feel like Joseph has violated your trust?
Yeah, he definitely violated my trust. In fact, whenever we were still living at Tenbrook, I thought that we were on really good terms. He was done with drugs and everything. But then whenever I went to work, I had my laptop there, and he signed into my PayPal, transferred himself $120 without my knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really what ruined our living arrangement together.
What do you hope for him?
I really hope that he learns to put all this drug and crime stuff behind him, and he truly steps up to be almost the person he was whenever we were kids, just more mature. He finds a solid job, he becomes independent, and he really just reunites with his family in a good way.
What do you think he'll be doing in 5 years?
In 5 years, I can honestly see him reconstructing his life. I have definitely seen him taking the steps to improve, and I definitely feel like he would have learned a little bit from the mistakes he made in the past. So I feel like in 5 years, he's really going to step up.
Mm-hmm. Do you love your brother despite everything?
Sometimes it is kind of hard to love him, but I feel like when it comes right down to it, he's still my family member. So, of course I would.
Do you have any advice for others whose sibling is a drug addict?
I guess I would have to say, stay tough and hope for the best.
Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer some questions about your brother and his impact on you.
Well, it was good to be here, and glad I could help.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.